This right here is the all-new Honda ZR-V. And when I say new, I mean new, like new. As in, this is the first all-new model from Honda in 20 years. But it's also important in another way, not just its newness, but it's a mid-size SUV, one of the biggest and most popular segments in the Australian market. So it can play a huge role for the brand. So the question is it any good? Let's go and find out.
Let's dive into it, starting with the price, which is a complicated question with Honda, or to be more accurate, it's a simple answer with one fixed price around the country, but how the brand gets there is more complicated. For those who don't know, Honda did away with asking dealers to sell their cars a few years ago and now controls all the stock and therefore the price centrally. That means a national drive-away price that's non-negotiable, so you know exactly what you're paying for when you look at the car. You can see the prices for this 4-strong lineup on the screen now, which starts at just over $40,000 for the VTIX and stretches all the way to nearly $55,000 for the eHEV LX hybrid model. In keeping with its simplified strategy and more premium focus, there's a high level of standard equipment across the range. This includes alloy wheels for all variants, as well as adaptive LED headlights, a 10-inch digital instrument panel, dual-zone climate control, and keyless entry ignition.
Let's talk about design, and without wanting to be unfair to Honda's very creative design team, I'm sure they put a lot of effort in. Maybe it's just me, but I'm getting a lot of elements of other cars in this. There's a certain sort of Maserati Grecale vibe to some of this front end, these smoothed over edges, these vertical slats on the grille. Again, they're giving me Mercedes AMG vibes, but maybe that's just me. But overall, the design of the car is actually quite impressive. The detail, the attention to detail is what gets you. You know, for example, they've tucked the windscreen wipers down underneath this black part of the bonnet so you can't see them when you're driving. They've got rid of the molding on the roofline, so it's a sleeker, more premium look. But just overall, the level of presentation, because they're relatively high spec here, the ZR-V is a good looking vehicle and a good addition to the range, and it fits with what Honda's been doing in recent years.
In terms of size and space, the ZR-V is classified as a mid-size SUV officially, but isn't quite on par with the likes of the Toyota RAV4 and Mitsubishi Outlander. Instead, it will likely appeal to those considering a Mazda CX-5, a Kia Seltos, or the new, bigger Hyundai Kona. Those who want an SUV with room for the family, but without it being too bulky. Another noticeable design choice is the badging, with Honda ZR-V rather than just the model designation used across the car, both outside and in. The company's local representatives say this decision was taken in part because it's a trend amongst Chinese manufacturers, and they believe it will help cement this new model name as part of the Honda range. Looking at practicality, there's a clear family resemblance between the latest Civic and the new ZR-V inside, with the same design themes carried over. This includes the horizontal honeycomb strip that runs across the center of the dashboard to split the infotainment and climate controls. The infotainment system is relatively intuitive and has a clean presentation, and importantly for many, it does include both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The design is thoughtful too, with plenty of small item storage space, including 2 cup holders, bottle holders in the front doors, and 2 small shelves to pop your phone. And one of those shelves is a smartphone charging pad. The seats are comfortable and supportive, trimmed in cloth in the entry grade model, but leather across the rest of the lineup. Space in the second row is good for this size SUV. As a 6-foot adult, I was able to sit behind my driving position in relative comfort and with adequate head and knee room. It's not a particularly wide SUV though, so getting 3 adults or older teenagers across the back would be a squeeze, but smaller kids should be fine. And there's a pair of ISOFIX anchors in the rear too, on each outboard seat for those younger families. The boot is slightly smaller than its key rivals, measuring 380 litres in the 2 lower grades and just 370 litres in the higher grades, thanks to the LX models getting a subwoofer. This is despite the ZR-V coming with a space saver spare for the petrol models and a tyre repair kit for the hybrid. Under the bonnet, there are 2 powertrains for the launch of the ZR-V, both taken from the Civic. The petrol engine is a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder unit that makes 131 kilowatts and 240 newton meters. It's paired to a CVT automatic transmission and drives the front wheels only, in a clear nod to the urban focus of the ZR-V. The other option is a petrol-electric hybrid, which pairs a 2-litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine with an integrated electric motor to make 135 kilowatts and 315 newton meters. It gets a unique electronic CVT with shift-by-wire technology reportedly taken from Honda's NSX supercar. As for the efficiency of the two powertrains, not surprisingly, the hybrid has the advantage. Honda claims the eHEV uses just 5 litres per 100 kilometres on the combined urban highway cycle, compared to 7.2 litres per 100 k's for the petrol models on the 18-inch wheels and 7 litres for the entry-grade model, which rides on 17-inch rims. Impressively, on our drive in the hybrid, which involves more open ride than urban commuting, we did manage to hit the official claim, which is a positive sign.
Honda has been making a big deal about the dynamic qualities of the ZR-V, and to be frank, a lot of car companies like to play up the dynamic traits of their cars, and a lot of the time it is misplaced parental bias, shall we say. That's not the case with the ZR-V. It is actually genuinely a nice SUV to drive. That's in part because the ZR-V is based on the same fundamental underpinnings as the latest generation Civic, which, in my honest opinion, I think is a return to form for the Civic. It is a more engaging and dynamic small car to drive. And those are qualities that transfer over to the ZR-V. You know, being honest with ourselves, we know that while we like the high seating position of an SUV, too often it comes at the expense of the dynamics. And that's not the case with the ZR-V. Now, I'm not saying this drives like a small car or it's a sports car handling. This is no Civic Type R. But for a mid-size SUV, it is a pleasant thing to drive. You know, we've driven across some twisty roads today, you know, and it steers faithfully. The ride is quite compliant, and it's quite direct in the way, you know, responds to inputs. Now, obviously, that's great if you enjoy driving and you enjoy your weekends in the countryside. Let's be honest, most of the time these cars spend their life in the urban environment, and because of that, those attributes actually are beneficial. This feels like it's an agile and responsive SUV to drive, and therefore it's easy to weave in and out of traffic or negotiate a car park. It's quite easy to park because it's not that larger size of mid-size SUVs. It's just an easy SUV to live with. As for what's under the bonnet, again, it impresses. It's not a shove you back in the seat kind of engine. Again, it's not a Civic Type R, but it is an impressive motor for this size of SUV. It's more than adequately powered. It's got more than enough performance for you to take off briskly at the lights, to power up a hill, to get overtaking done. It ticks those boxes of what a mid-size SUV needs. It doesn't go over the top. It isn't the most powerful thing you'll ever drive, but it does have the attributes that you really need.
In terms of safety, the ZR-V comes well equipped with the Honda Sensing suite of active safety features included across the lineup. That means every model gets forward collision warning, collision mitigation braking, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control, amongst other features. The only safety items the VTI X and VTI L grades miss out on is blind spot monitoring, while the hybrid gets a unique acoustic warning in EV mode. At the time of recording this video, the ZR-V hadn't been given a crash rating by ANCAP, but that could change in the near future. So, to keep up to date, or if you want more details on the safety features of the Honda ZR-V, make sure you check out our detailed written reviews at carsguide.com.au. As for its ownership credentials, the ZR-V is covered by Honda's 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty that also includes 5 years of roadside assistance. Service intervals are every 12 months or 10,000 kilometres, which is slightly below average in terms of mileage, but you are covered by the company's Cap Pro servicing plan that charges a flat fee of $199 for those first 5 years.
So, is the Honda ZR-V any good? In a word, yes. Now, I say that with a little bit of surprise, not because Honda make bad cars, they make very good ones, but because the mid-size SUV segment is so competitive. It's a hard market, and it's a hard market to crack, and this is genuinely an impressive offering that holds its own against its much more established peers. So it turns out good things do come to those who wait. And of course, if you want to learn more about the Honda ZR-V or any of Honda's models, make sure you check out my full in-depth written review at carsguide.com.au, where you can get all the latest news, reviews and videos.